I remember a time when we were so poor, Poor, we couldn't even afford the OR. We were just P-O. And our idea of a vacation, we had 4 or 5 little kids, a new family, you know what I mean? And our idea of a vacation was loading up our broken down Dodge Grand Caravan that would only go 35 miles an hour, and we would drive an hour away to my sister-in-law's house and spend the night. And that was what my kids thought was vacation. So sit back, everybody. It's story time with Dude, or something like that. All right, let's get into it. Let's lay some groundwork of what life looked like back then. I don't even know when this was. This had to have been, we were married, let's see, in 1994. This was probably like somewhere between 98 to 2004. It's somewhere in that range. No, we'd had a few kids. So we had 4 to 5 kids by this point. We were getting by. My wife had stopped working because we had so many little ones at home. She was just trying to raise a family. I was working. I was in a sales position, and let's just say money was tight. I mean, we were scraping by. And I was learning the craft, getting good at what I did, but I was still a ways away from really making, solid money of any kind. So we were in that phase, young family, struggling, trying to make ends meet. Back then, there was no going to Disneyland, you know what I mean? So one of the things that we did, my wife's sister actually lived over in Kanab, Utah, kind of on the border of Fredonia, Arizona and Kanab, Utah. They're connected by about a mile of freeway in between them. But and her husband had a pretty decent job. He had a career. I won't say what he did out of just his own identity there, but man, we were really good friends with them. And so and they had 5 kids. We had 5 kids. Now at this time, I can't remember if we each only had 4, but literally it was weird. She gets pregnant, my wife gets pregnant. My wife gets pregnant, she got pregnant. I mean, our kids all, roughly the same ages. And so it made for a good match. At the end of the day, they had 5 boys. We had 3 girls and 2 boys. And I remember we were, like I said, life was just tight. We did not have money for travel and for hotels and fancy steak dinners or, things like that. That a lot of people did, And so we did the best we could given our circumstance. And so we still wanted to be able to do fun things with the kids. So we found affordable ways to go do things. One of those ways was to go to the in-laws' house over there in Kanab. And we were driving this Dodge Grand Caravan, man. I forget. I think we had 2 of these things. Why we ever got 2, I don't know. The first one I think was a 1995 Dodge Grand Caravan. And then later on, we actually got a 2005 maybe? And we had that for a little while. And both of them, the transmission went out. I got another one, a story for another day. But this particular one, when the transmission fails, now it didn't just stop running. It slipped into like a safety mode where basically it wouldn't shift out of second gear. It wouldn't go past second gear. So this thing would drive pretty normal between 0 and 35 miles an hour. And once you hit 35, the RPMs are just going up, and so you could go 50, but it's like going 50 down the road. It was embarrassing, And then we literally, we had it looked at, and it was going to cost a couple grand, I think, to fix. Now that kind of money did not come easy back then, and I've already told some other stories. We didn't have like credit. We were not good with credit. We were young and naive and stupid. We've since grown and matured. But so what we did was the road from where we live to Kanab is about an hour long. It is a two-lane highway, one lane going each direction. And so we're out there, driving our little minivan as fast as we could possibly go. Everyone's got to go around us, and that road is dangerous enough, right? That road it's already kind of sketch, because even if you're going 60, people are buzzing around you going, 80 or whatever. And we're obviously being slow. I can't remember if we turn on the hazard lights or not, but I mean, just getting there was an experience and an adventure of its own. The kids are all in the back. I think the Grand Caravan had like a, oh no, our first one didn't. No, our first one, yeah, this one. What we had was, we had bought this little TV that had like a VHS tape slot in it. Like a VCR TV combo that was only like 13 inches, We stuck it between the seats and the console, and the kids would watch like old cartoons and Disney movies and things like that. And this is in the golden era of Disney. We probably had like Lion King and Little Mermaid and, all the great 90s shows that came out. So, yeah, I remember that. And we would buzz our way over there, going to Kanab. People flying by us. It felt like the whole state of Utah passed us. It was embarrassing. But we didn't really have any other options. So we'd pull up. They'd kind of built their house. I mean, if you ever know anything about like, southwestern, southeastern, whatever this is, Utah, I mean, there's not a lot out there in these little towns, especially back then. So it's a pretty quiet little sleepy town. I think it was on the border, like I said, Fredonia, Arizona, which is not much there in Fredonia. Their house is kind of built in this, just on land, you know what I mean? Not a big grassy front yard or anything. Kind of like one of those where you drive up to the house, but they had built a pretty nice little house for themselves. And we would drive up, and as soon as we got there, all our kids would jump out of the car, all their kids were there, and boom, before you long, they all disappear, They're off, roaming around the hills behind the house. They're out just playing and having a good old time, long before, mass video games and the internet. So they're out experiencing what kids do, just playing and having a good old time. And which was nice, because then that gave us some time to chill and kind of visit with my wife's sister and brother-in-law. And like I said, we're good friends. We got along really well with them. So we just kind of chill and have a good time. And then usually what we were doing for dinner, I mean, we would go out like on a Friday after work. So we'd get out there. It's summertime months or whatever, when it's light longer, it doesn't get dark till 9 or 9:30. And rarely could we afford to really go out to eat over there. So usually we'd be getting over there, kids would all go play, and we're figuring out something we could barbecue or whatever. So we, whether it's chicken that we had on hand or some hot dogs, or we'd have a hamburger cookout, that type of thing. We'd run into the store into Kanab, grab some chips or some soda, something super cheap. We'd have like just a nice little cookout with some very affordable food. Half the time we'd be bringing stuff from our house that we had, and they'd have stuff at their house. And we're just putting together a dinner, and everyone's just having a good time. And then we would drive into town. They had a video store. You remember those? Now this is so small. I don't think there was a Blockbuster. This is like a, I don't know, just a little like, the sign on the outdoor says videos or whatever. And honestly, I don't even remember if it was VHS tape or if there was DVDs. DVDs were probably, those were probably like the new thing. This is way before Redbox even. So we would go down and we would rent a video or a DVD. I can't even remember which. Usually, I remember they were $1. It was like $1 to rent a movie. So we'd usually rent like a kids a cartoon, and we'd rent the adults a video, and not an adult video. That's a video for the adults. And we would go back to the house, And the kids were just piled all in a room, man. They're like having a sleepover. There's sleeping bags and blankets and pillows everywhere. And they had their own little TV with, whatever it was, DVD or VCR in there. And the kids would basically play games. They play a lot of board games, Uno, things like that. They have a little cartoon or something they can watch. Sister-in-law would pop popcorn, make stuff for them. Kids were having a blast. And then we'd hang out with the adults, and we'd watch a movie or something like that. Have a little snack, popcorn, chips, salsa, something like that, and enjoy the night. And then we'd actually spend the night at their house. So there's people just kind of sleeping everywhere. Their house wasn't huge. It's not like they had 5 spare bedrooms, but the kids all piled in. We basically like camped out in the living room, and had a good time. I think the next morning, usually our sister-in-law would kind of like, make some sort of breakfast. We got pancakes or eggs, something cheap that you can feed a lot of people with. And we'd all have breakfast. The kids would go out playing in the desert and up in the little hillsides and stuff again. While sometimes we'd go out. I mean, again, this is Fredonia, Utah. So we'd go out and shoot some guns or something with my brother-in-law. He's very knowledgeable in that department. And basically, we'd have a good time, and then either have a cheap sandwich or peanut butter and PB&J or something for lunch, and then we'd pack up the car and head home. And like that was it. Like that was basically the family trips back then. So Saturday afternoon, we're back in the Grand Caravan, going 35 miles an hour. All the way home, maybe 45 or 50 if you're pushing it, pushing those RPMs. And the thing, my kids will still talk about, oh, remember when we used to go over to Kanab all the time? Now, it's been such a long time. My wife and I kind of have a debate. Did we go once a month? Was it every other month? But whatever. I would say it was frequent, especially during like the summer months. I think we did do it in the winter months, but it gets dark early. It's not as fun, whatever, But there for a little while, that was kind of a frequent thing. Because we just couldn't do the bigger trips. We definitely weren't going to Hawaii or spending a week in Disney World or something crazy like that. That was just not in the cards because we were po. But here's the funny thing. Here's kind of the lesson. And if my kids or grandkids watch this in the future, here's the thing. What I really realized was, I was building a career and that was great. But we struggled at times, especially in the beginning. And while I learned my craft, while I got good at what I did, until we had solid income coming, things like that, we did struggle. But I realized you didn't have to be rich to create memories. My kids look back very fondly at those little trips that we took to Kanab, little weekend camping trips that we took, overnighters usually. Maybe I'll tell another story of another day, but we had many a times we pitched a tent and made some grilled up some food or whatever, and just camped right in our backyard. Once we were able to own a home, we still we did a lot of little overnight campouts. My kids look back fondly on that kind of stuff. So it was just a good time, and I remember it was a simpler time. It was a wholesome time. We weren't distracted by a lot of technology, and we didn't have the money to go do the big things, and that was okay. I know a lot of people younger families who are kind of in that same boat that just don't go do anything. If you happen to be younger and watch this video, and maybe you find yourself in that kind of a position, I'm here to tell you, your kids don't need much. What they do is they need quality time with their mom or their dad, or mom and dad, depending on your family situation. And you can make memories that last a lifetime. And that was some of ours, just taking those weekend trips over to Kanab, Utah, and 35 miles an hour. We got there. We did it. We did it cheap. We did it affordable, and it fit our lifestyle. And my kids and us all look back fondly at that memory. So anyway, that has been another story time with Dude. Yeah. So, anyway, that's today's story. Hope you enjoyed it. And tomorrow we're going to be back with another weight loss journey video. So, that's where we're at right now. Anyway, we will see you next time on Storytime with Dude. And until then, Dude out.